All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really beautiful and honestly surprisingly profound story about a tiny, cheerful squirrel named Sammy. Now, I know what you're thinking, but we're not just reading a children's fable here. We're actually going to use this text to explore the deep psychology of what it actually means to be brave. Yep, you heard that right. We are psychoanalyzing a squirrel today. It's a concept we all think we totally understand, right? But Sammy's journey kind of flips our most basic assumptions about fear and heroism completely upside down.
Which brings us to a really crucial question. What does it really mean to be truly brave? This basically sets up our whole journey today. So often we challenge ourselves to be fearless. We just assume that bravery means you have zero fear, like heroes just don't get scared, period. But as we'll see through Sammy's story today, that definition, it might actually be completely backward. So let's look at how this plays out for our little protagonist.
Section 1, A Squirrel's Dilemma, the Obstacle.
So the text sets up Sammy as this really happy, curious little guy who absolutely loves exploring the woods. He's totally in his comfort zone. But there's a catch. He faces a massive, terrifying obstacle. Sammy's absolute greatest fear is this old wooden bridge over the river. And he is literally paralyzed by it. The story says every time he even stands near it, he whispers, "I can't do it. What if I fall?" While his little legs are physically shaking at just the sight of the thing. It's a super visceral reaction to something he sees as incredibly dangerous. And honestly, haven't we all been there? Staring down our own metaphorical creaky bridge?
Now you might be wondering, why not just go a different way? Well, the bridge isn't just some random piece of the forest he can just avoid. It is literally the only path to the biggest oak tree. And why does that matter? Because of course that tree holds the absolute sweetest acorns in the entire forest. So his physical response, the shaking legs, that overwhelming, debilitating anxiety, it's actively blocking him from his ultimate goal. And this conflict right here perfectly sets the stage for a major turning point.
Section 2, Redefining Bravery, the Catalyst.
So we need a catalyst to break Sammy out of the stagnant mindset, right? Enter his best friend, Bella the bluebird. She flies down right beside him while he's just frozen in fear, and she drops this piece of totally life-changing advice. She says, being brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you keep going even when you are. She delivers this profound wisdom so gently, and it gives Sammy an entirely new framework. Suddenly, his fear isn't proof that he's some kind of coward. It's just a condition he has to operate within. It completely normalizes his anxiety.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the core theme for our explainer. True bravery is not fearlessness, not at all. It is the act of acknowledging your fear, but choosing to move forward and take action anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the action you take in spite of it. The text mentions Sammy spends the whole day just thinking about this new definition. It's a total paradigm shift for him, and it gears him up for what happens next.
Section 3, Crossing the Bridge, the Action.
Okay, so after totally internalizing that new definition of bravery, Sammy faces the bridge the very next morning. This is where the theory actually turns into practice. Step 1, he takes a massive, deep breath and steps onto the wood. Step 2, he hears that terrifying creak, creak, and his first instinct is desperately wanting to just turn and run back. But step 3, he listens to Bella cheering one step at a time from above, and he pushes forward. Notice how he doesn't just suddenly sprint across like an action star. He takes it step by agonizing step. His brain is screaming retreat, but he applies his new framework and literally just keeps stepping.
Section 4, The True Test, an Unexpected Rescue.
Now you'd totally think reaching the other side and finally getting those delicious acorns was the grand climax of the story, right? Actually, no. Crossing the bridge was just the warm-up. Suddenly, a tiny cry rings out, "Help! Help!" Just as he's filling his basket and celebrating his big win, this sudden cry demands immediate action. And just like that, he is pulled right out of his comfort zone all over again.
It turns out a baby rabbit is trapped under a heavy fallen branch. So what does Sammy do? Well, the text tells us Sammy rushes over without even a second thought. He uses every ounce of his physical strength to push that heavy branch aside. The rabbit jumps free and immediately calls Sammy his hero. This is amazing because Sammy's newfound mindset kicks in instantly here. That mental muscle he built by crossing the scary bridge earlier, it allowed him to leap right into action when someone else needed him, totally bypassing his own hesitation.
Section 5, The Meaning of Courage, the Resolution.
Word travels fast, and the entire forest community hears about what happened. They recognize Sammy's incredible act, which leads us straight to the story's ultimate takeaway. It really strips everything down to the essentials. You have the myth, which is being fearless, and then you have the reality, which is doing the right thing even when you're afraid. In the story, Bella smiles proudly as the animals give Sammy a special golden acorn. Sammy finally gets it. He realizes this profound difference. Real bravery isn't some magical emotion you lack. It's a choice you actively make.
When we track his complete emotional transformation, it reveals a really clear, powerful progression. It starts on day 1 with him shaking in absolute terror at the old wooden bridge. Then, day 2, stepping out despite those awful creaks and his overwhelming desire to run away. Minutes later, spontaneously saving the trapped baby rabbit. And finally, receiving that golden acorn from the forest animals. It's a direct path from debilitating fear to recognized heroism. And the source tells us that from that day on, Sammy crossed the bridge whenever someone needed help. And you know what? Every single time he did, he grew just a little bit braver. Taking the action actually bred the confidence.
To wrap up this explainer, we really have to ask ourselves, if courage is choosing to do the right thing when you feel scared, where will you choose to apply Sammy's bravery in your own life? Because the lesson here obviously isn't just for a squirrel in a fictional forest, it's for all of us staring down our own creaky wooden bridges. So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. How can you harness your own shaking legs, acknowledge your fear, and step forward to do the right thing today?